And my compliments on your rope lights. That's pretty cool.
I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of pixelated to me. Like it's not
Yes.
like I can see the screen, but like the letters are strange. Прокажешь чапень? Yeah, I already told you, but I'll tell you again that my kid is around. So if everything happens during the show, like I can be interrupted accidentally. So sorry about that in advance.
Yeah, I might have barking dogs at any moment, so I will stay muted when I'm not speaking just to be safe.
I will give a few minutes to those of us who are joining so that we can get to start off shortly. Just one more minute, and then now we shall be starting off our session. I hope my slides are in full screen to our speakers.
Not yet.
How about now?
No, it's still not full screen.
Harrison, you can just share your screen. I'll proceed with your screen.
Okay. Should
That looks really good now.
Can move to the first slide. Great. I hope. Thank you so much to every one of us for joining us. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and at whatever time you're dialing in for this session. Thank you so much for creating time to sign up and dialing in for this special, unique, and of its kind Pioneer AI session. We welcome you to this live stream session, and once again, welcome to the deeplearning.ai community. We greatly do acknowledge your virtual presence, and we look forward to your active participation, questions, interactions, and engagements throughout the session. And once again, welcome to the deeplearning.ai community. You can get to grab something, maybe some coffee or something to bite. Make yourself comfortable because for the next 1 hour, we will be exploring, having discussions, getting to share and getting to interact more with those speakers. And we will be having our burning questions being answered and responded to by our speakers. And on this emerging concept that is less discussed, we do hope that you will gain in-depth insights, actionable insights, and more to that, learn how to build holistic understanding of the data workflow, how to execute the full AI lifecycle, and also receiving resources from our speakers. And we do hope that you're ready and welcome to the deeplearning.ai community. Throughout this session, we expect to hear a special message that will be coming from Dr. Andrew Eng in the deeplearning.ai community. We'll be getting to hear what special or what is it that Dr. Andrew Eng has to say about this particular session. We'll also be having a high valuable roundtable discussion that will take a whole hour. And we'll be trying to ask ourselves questions around these emerging concepts with our amazing panelist of speakers on the topic of the day, that is the full stack data scientist. Is it a myth? Is it a unicorn, or the new normal? And also at the end of the event, we'd like to inform you that after this particular session, we're going to receive coupon codes to access deeplearning.ai courses on Coursera. And you will receive a post-event survey email from deeplearning.ai. Please ensure that you fill that survey form, and you will receive guidelines on how to access the courses so that you can be able to take up the courses on deeplearning.ai. And also we will have a few minutes at the end of the event to network, to share and engage with fellow deep learners and what we'll have learned throughout the session. Moving forward, do get to share with us what your thoughts are, and get to share with us where you're tuning in from, your location, the country you're tuning in this particular session. And we do appreciate our organizers. This could not have been possible without the support of deeplearning.ai, our amazing panelist of speakers, and also our organizers, Harrison and Kennedy. And also we thank you all our attendees and everyone dialing in for the session. Just a brief history of deeplearning.ai. It was founded by Dr. Andrew Eng, and we know Dr. Andrew Eng is one of the most impactful educators. He's been an innovator, and he's been leading in artificial intelligence and the technology space in general. He's co-founded Coursera, Google Brain, deeplearning.ai, and deeplearning.ai is on a mission to ensure that everyone across the globe has access to world-class education, so that we're all able to learn, to build innovatively, and to be able to benefit from this AI-powered future. And moving forward, we will get to understand a brief up of the Pioneer AI meetups. And Pioneer AI meetups, these are basically series of deeplearning.ai meetups that are hosted in various cities across the globe, currently in 45 countries, that bring together the global AI community. and like the Pioneer meetup that we're in today, being a virtual meetup. And basically, these events include conversations with AI leaders, with various key data professionals, like our amazing speakers that we're having in today. They involve discussions, engagements, and basically trying to build a knowledge sharing environment to help us uh, democratize, discuss about data science, machine learning, knowledge, experiences, sharing best practices, guidance, and also providing an opportunity for us to network, to learn from each other. Moving forward, having understood uh, the history of Pioneer meetups, we would like to encourage us to be able to share the event proceedings. Let us know where you're tuning in from. What are your expectations for the day? What do you expect to learn? What are your thoughts? What ideas do you have when we talk about this particular topic of the day? What myths might you have had towards this concept? And get to share with us your thoughts, and tell us something maybe where you dialing in from, your location, the country you're tuning in from, and you can do all this through the YouTube live chat. And also, those are the social media hashtags for event. If you feel you'd wish to share what you'll have learned from our speakers to other social media platforms, those are our hashtags for the event, and you can tag deeplearning.ai, various speakers. And moving on, at this point, we will be getting to hear the exclusive message from Dr. Andrew Eng for this particular meetup. Enjoy.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew Ng, founder of deeplearning.ai, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community will help you to do so. To give you a proper welcome, I'd like to show you around the deeplearning.ai offices and meet some of the teams so that you can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pine AI what you do at deeplearning.ai?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I make articles and other media that help people learn about AI and help them understand the huge impact that AI is having in the world. Today, I'm putting together the next issue of The Batch, our weekly newsletter, and I'm looking for the biggest stories of the week to keep our readers informed.
What's been the most surprising thing you've run into working on The Batch?
How much is going on in this field? There's never a dull moment. You might think from the outside that machine learning engineers really understand everything about AI.
Sorry for that. I'll just play the video again.
But nobody understands.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew Ng, founder of deeplearning.ai, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community will help you to do so. To give you a proper welcome, I'd like to show you around the deeplearning.ai offices and meet some of the teams so that you can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pine AI what you do at deeplearning.ai?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I make articles.
Apologies for that. We will play the video to hear the message from Dr. Andrew Eng. at the end of the session. So at this point, I'll welcome Harrison to uh, take us through to the next session. And at this point,
Hello, hello.
yes, Harrison. At this point, we will have the introductions are from to introducing our speakers. This particular live stream webinar.
So we should.
Harrison?
Yes, apparently you're still sharing the screen. Sorry. So,
Yes. You can have your screen back.
okay.
Move one slide.
Is it still fine? Sorry.
Great. So sorry for the few hiccups, but we will get to play the video at the end of the session. And once again, we're so grateful to have amazing speakers joining in for this particular session to learn from them, to hear from them. They are quite amazing data professionals doing amazing and great work. And we're starting off with Alexi. Thank you so much, Alexi, for creating time to be in for this session. Alexi, he is the lead data scientist at OLX. He's also the founder of Data Talks Club. This is a community of people who are interested in different aspects of data science, machine learning, engineering, and analytics. The club has amazing series of meetups and courses that are coming up that I would encourage us to check them out. He lives in Berlin, Germany, and has over 6 years of industry experience in machine learning and data science, and over 10 years as a software engineer. He's an open source contributor, a speaker, a technical reviewer, um, a Kegel master, and he holds with him vast experience in running production systems, academia research. You can check out some of the amazing publications and work. He's also been actively involved in mentoring and leadership work. He's also an author who's written several books. One of them is the current ongoing book with MIP, Machine Learning Boot Camp. We also have Mastering Java for Data Science, TensorFlow Deep Learning projects, which he's acted as, he's played the role of a co-author. And more to that, he's also one of the Hackathon contributors of the year 2020. He won 4 categories: careers, recruitment, data science, and machine learning. Next, we will have Benjamin Taylor. Thank you so much for creating time to joining in for this particular session. We're so grateful coming in from United States. Benjamin Ben he's the chief AI evangelist at Data Robot. He's a veteran thought leader in AI with over 16 years experience in machine learning. And through his work, he's lived up to his mission of furthering the boundaries of what is possible with data science in transforming and shaping the lives of people and companies. He's the go-to guy if you want to learn more about artificial intelligence and getting to understand what are the latest trends, what are the latest developments in this field. And also more to that, Ben is one of the most viewed writers on Quora for artificial intelligence. And he's one of the sharpest brains in this field of AI, and we're quite humbled to have you in for this particular session. And also lastly about Ben is that for those of us who might have interacted with the higher view video interviews, you'd get to know maybe during your interviews for your job search and all that, we're quite humbled to have Ben, because he's the one who built and led the data science team to developing the first video interview prediction engines called the Higher View Insights, and many more other AI products. So we're so glad to have you, Ben. Thank you so much. And also, we're glad to have Thomas Ives, who is a PhD multi-physics engineer. He's currently the lead data scientist for UL Prospector, and also the founder of Integrated Machine Learning and AI. This is a small group of data scientists that are creating helpful educational content and also serving startups through providing them with service and instruction in the data science arena. You could also check out more to what he's doing. And he's also a Python geek. And we're quite humbled to have you dialing in for this session from the United States. And he possesses with him a wide business acumen. He's a very successful and experienced real estate investor. And he loves, he's passionate about leveraging analysis to make predictions. And this basically describes his 30 years plus career. And he's passionate about data scientist. He's a dynamics systems modeler and one amazing analyst who loves to work with great people to improve the performance of their business products. And we're so humbled and grateful to have you in for this session, to all our speakers. And at this point, it takes us to the beforehand questions that we had consolidated from the feedback from our attendees and to every one of us who is in for this session. And we felt that these are some of those questions that are quite trivial and burning questions around this topic of the day. And at this point, I'm going to welcome Harrison to take us through the session with our amazing speakers. So Harrison and our panel of speakers, thank you so much and welcome to this virtual roundtable discussion.
So thank you so much, Kennedy, for the introduction and in getting everyone onto terms with deep learning and AI and sharing about the speakers. So on to our first question. It's about, really, we want to get to know what is a full stack data scientist. And maybe I will start by asking Ben, could you please share something on the same?
Yeah, so thanks, Harrison. I think a full stack data scientist role has changed a little bit. Before it was a proper full stack where you had to know some front end, some back end, where you could build an app on your own. It doesn't mean it was pretty, but it meant you worked. It meant it worked. You got it to done. So I think a full stack data scientist is someone who's flexible and useful, and they're not just a researcher.
Great. Alexei, do you have anything to add on to that?
I think you're muted, Alexei.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry. It's like the phrase of 2020, you're muted. Okay, so I think the role, it goes back to the days like full stack developer, like somebody who can do the whole thing from the beginning to end. Usually it's about web development, right? Somebody who can do a Node.js thing, then sorry. So somebody who can build front end, back end, all in JavaScript, and basically do the entire thing end to end. I'm sorry. And the same thing is with data science. So like, while a full stack developer can do a web application from end to end, the same thing with data science. Somebody who can do it end to end, from gathering the requirements, like being like somebody business savvy, to actually rolling it out to production. So this is what it means to me, like a full stack data scientist.
Yeah, great. Tom, would you have anything to add? Or
I'm actually kind of relieved to hear their explanations of it, because usually when I hear it, it's in the sense of a SaaS business, and a little more like what Ben was saying, where it's in the form of a software as a service, a big web app, and you've got to do the data engineering role, you've got to do meaning the back end, you've got to do the front end, and while that is super fun to be able to know how to do all that stuff, I would hate to see a data scientist worry about getting there too soon, learn the data science, and then as you have time, add those extra skills, in my opinion.
Wow, great. So on to the next one. What are the most common needs associated with a full stack data scientist, and how do you overcome them? Maybe Ben, would you
Sure.
start out
So
on
maybe one of the
that?
most common myths is they don't exist. And maybe they don't exist if you think of, if I scaled people's competencies on 0 to 10, where a really good data scientist, like principal level data scientist, would be a 9 or a 10. Obviously, they're not going to be a 9 or a 10 on all domains, on back end, on front end, because you just don't have time and resources to become that. So maybe a myth that the full stack data scientist doesn't exist, that's true in the context of them being perfect at everything. But I would say they definitely exist with the full stack when it comes to, like, I think of myself, I don't do web development that often, but I can throw a front end to some data science app, and it doesn't mean it's pretty, doesn't mean I'm going to win an award for usability, but it worked. And so, yeah, to kind of wrap up my thought on this, is the common myth is some people think they don't exist at all, and that would be true for maximum competency in all the areas that matter. They definitely do exist for just stitching together an app or some demonstration. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, Alexi, could you
Yeah.
briefly add?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. So this one of the aspects to what Ben said already. Like, I think the common misconception, I think, when I said that full stack data scientist is somebody who can do think end to end, like from the collecting business requirements to actually rolling out this thing to production, the assumption is that this person is an expert in all these aspects. And this is not humanly possible. A person cannot do these things like, again, using this example, like 0 to 10 scale, a person cannot be 10 on all these aspects. It's not possible that a person is an excellent product manager, an excellent data analyst, an excellent data scientist, an excellent data engineer, and machine learning engineer at the same time. And yeah, that's, I think, one of the common myths. And you don't have to be an expert in everything to actually do something useful. So you just need to know a little bit of everything, and that's enough to create something valuable.
You just have to be an expert Googler.
Yes, exactly.
So, Tom, would you mind adding up on that? I feel they have covered.
I was actually just messaging my two co-panelists on LinkedIn to say, I'm so relieved you guys are answering this way, because we really didn't know how each of us was going to answer. And I completely agree. It's like a competency matrix. At our ages and our experience level, yeah, most likely we've been exposed to JavaScript, HTML, CSS. We've built some stuff, but if you ask me to, fill out my competency level on doing an end-to-end full stack SaaS, I would say it's not very high. But I will also admit, the times that I've tried to do it, it's super fun. It's fun to dive into, but given our roles and the amount of data science we have to do day to day, I think of my own position at my own company. We work on a very deep and old SaaS, and it's very powerful gift to the world. And I certainly couldn't manage it all by myself, and I think it would be horrible if we lost even one of our experts that does each of the major functions that Ben was covering. So important to have top competency people if you want a top level SaaS out there in the wild. Those are my thoughts.
Wow, great, awesome. Maybe just to add up on that, I heard Alexi mention that you don't have to like know everything, and that's the thing that all of you agree on, that you don't have to be excellent in everything, but you just have to piece up on that. There's someone who was asking from the audience that a data scientist today needs to gather skills from traditional machine learning all the way to complex networks like transformers, GANs. Should the web development part be handled separately? I'm not sure.
I can start on that one. I think the issue with the data science domain, it's become so large, just like the full stack stuff, that you can't have a data scientist that's good at everything. You can have them aware of everything. So if you ask us questions about natural language processing, GANs, deep learning, reinforced learning, it went down a long list. I think we can answer some of those questions well, but we're not going to be a 10. And so I think a lot of data scientists end up specializing, which I think is funny because the new data scientists, they all want to specialize in deep learning. They all want reinforced learning or something that's really exciting. But in business, a lot of times that's not where the value is yet. Right now, we have structured problems. We have some natural language problems. So I definitely would not encourage anyone listening to be overwhelmed or try to learn everything. Try to learn the data science domains that will get you experience and a job the fastest. And if you want to do deep learning, have that be a side project or a passion project.
And what I can add to that, I definitely agree with what Ben said. And to me, I am repeating myself, but full stack data scientist is somebody who can do things end to end, but it doesn't mean that every step here is perfect. And when it comes to NLP, let's say, you can do quite a lot with simple linear models. Like you can just take scikit-learn, like logistic regression from there, train a simple model, and then have 80% of whatever performance you need, just spending 20% of the time. And then you close the loop, you talk to the business, you say, okay, this is what I have. Does it make sense to continue? And then like once you do a few iterations, you try more and more complex models, then at some point it comes a time then you actually have to dig deeper and then maybe try other models, like instead of using scikit-learn logistic regression, do something else, like use TensorFlow or something else. But before that, like you'll need to do a couple of iterations, and then for them you don't need deep learning at all. Like simple methods, even without machine learning, even just by counting things, you can already bring a lot of value to the organization. And only then you dig deeper and learn complex things.
Harrison, you're muted. I'm going to assume you wanted me to go on ahead, and I'll just add,
Yes.
I really did like Ben and Alexi's answers very much. One thing that I considered, why would you want to become a full stack data scientist and improve your competency across the board? If you needed to look at a lean startup and you needed to come up with an end-to-end solution, but it didn't really need to be at scale. That way, it's good that you have that level of skills in that breadth so that you can prove out an end-to-end solution. But once that system needs to go to production or to a launch and be maintained and work at scale, I don't think you want one person managing all of that. But to just get what we oftentimes call a tracer bullet out, something that does end-to-end that proves the concepts, it's super wonderful in a startup where you've got to be lean, that one person could prove out the concepts at that level.
Yeah, great. So on to the next one. Do businesses or data science teams need a full stack data scientist? Do they need a generalist or a specialist?
I can
Yeah.
start since we're going around. So when I was listening to Tom respond, I was thinking back. So I've had the experience of being a data scientist, managing a data science team, and the wonderful experience of actually paying payroll out of my personal savings. And when you start doing that, it changes your perspective. And really, what I want when we talk about full stack data scientists, I just want people to get unblocked. I want them to unblock themselves. So if a data scientist is doing work, it's really not that common that they have to do the whole A to Z thing. But if they run into a little blocking point where they have to do something outside of their norm, I just want them to do it. I just want them to look on Stack Overflow and just do it. And if they really can't do it, exhaust enough resources that that's true, that I can't do it either. Um, and so getting back to this question, I think for young startups, a full stack data scientist is a requirement. They need someone who can be flexible. They can adapt to a lot of blockers because you're trying to build something that is clumsy, doesn't really exist, and you have missing hats on the team, so you need to fill other hats. For a bigger company, that's great. Hire a specialist. And I see bigger companies do this. They will hire someone, NLP better than anyone else. That's all you do. Or at HireVue, we hired an automatic speech recognition deep learning engineer. That's all he did. He didn't know anything. Like, he was really good at that, but maybe not everything else. Yes, those are my thoughts. It depends on the stage of the business.
Yeah, maybe Alex, you could go next.
I was thinking maybe Tom wants to go for a change, like first,
Oh,
like if
Tom,
we
yeah.
alternate a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make it easy.
Sorry.
I really thought Ben said it all. It's really about flexibility, supporting the team, not acting like, no, I'm a data scientist. Go get one of the other guys to do that. I mean, basically, after you've done data science for a while, you code a lot and you know how to learn very rapidly and review very rapidly. So dive in and help the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe just some of my thoughts about this. So I think like just to summarize, I think what we said, what Ben and Tom said, like businesses kind of need both. Like at some point, like a startup might need a full stack data scientist, like generalist, and a bigger corporation needs a specialist. I actually think like this is definitely true, and for a startup, like of course are they should hire more like a generalist than a specialist, like to cover many things at the same time. But I also think corporations benefit from having a generalist as well. So it doesn't have to be a team of specialists. So a few generalists will also help in a big corporation as well. And I work at OLX. It's a quite large company, so I would consider it a corporation. Maybe not as large as Google, but it's quite large. And we have people who are generalists, who are doing things end to end, and company benefits from that a lot. So maybe they are not specialists in some particular areas, but they can deliver a thing end to end, a project end to end, including like all this communication with stakeholders, and then training a model, then rolling it out to production. And usually this is the most difficult part for data science projects. They can do that all, and they can just move faster. So they don't have to rely on data engineers to deploy things, on machine learning engineers to basically take over at some point. They can just go and do the entire thing end to end. And if something breaks or something doesn't work, then they can talk to specialists and ask for help. But before that, they can just move fast and deliver good solutions. And I think corporations also benefit from that a lot.
I really like what Alexi said because it becomes a kind of a strategic lightning rod for an organization because these bigger organizations, they can become lethargic and they're slow. And if we come up with an idea that we want to go do this data project, got to get the DBAs in here, we got to get the DevOps in here. And so if you have a data scientist who's full stack, they feel pretty comfortable getting database credentials just hacking something together in a sprint. And if that thing grows legs, then that's great. Like, but I really like that because it can help accelerate these bigger organizations that trip over their own feet.
Yeah. And if this thing doesn't grow legs, then okay, well, let's move
Even
to
better.
the next thing, right?
You don't have to pay the debt on your technical debt.
Yeah, exactly. Just experiment it. It doesn't work. Move on.
Great, awesome. On to the next one. How and where does the role fit in an organization? Maybe Tom, you should express your
sure.
opinion also the same. Yeah.
Sure. I kind of like what Ben jumped in and said on top of Alexi there just a moment ago with respect to this. I'm staring at a situation where I love my teammates. They're experts. I don't dare touch database administration for fear of having my database administrator jump down my throat. The same with my sysadmin. They take really good care of me. They answer my questions when I need to talk to them. But there, as Ben said, even in a very well-developed SaaS, there's technical debt. And I remember proposing a one-armed bandit approach to some pricing questions we had. And after looking at the structure, they realized, oh, given our current structure, we can't do that. And because I did know the other things that needed to be done, I proposed in the future, when I got through with some other projects, we could investigate doing an appendage, so to speak, where it didn't have to be part of the existing web structure. We could do something off to the side that was more flexible. It was a full stack in nature, but it was an appendage to our overall SaaS. And they kind of like that idea. We haven't even started approaching it yet, but it was just nice to know that they were open to going around their existing closed structure in that way, and that we had options. And if I hadn't known how to think full stack, we couldn't have even considered that option.
Great. And there's another question from the audience that I felt that should be tackled at this point in time. So if a data scientist must be specialized in a specific field, what is that field?
Maybe I can go with that. Think for data science, in my experience, usually like the training model, the part when we train a model is not usually a problem, like especially for newer projects. The problem usually is the data collection and model deployment. And I think data scientists who start to get more in deployment, they become more valuable. So I think if anything from this, not necessarily specialization, but definitely my advice for data scientists would be to go to these areas, to go to deployment parts and learn that better, because doing this will increase your skills, like also your value to the organization a lot. And then you'll be able to move independently, to move fast, and that's a great area to focus. Like not that everyone likes this, and again, so if you don't like this a lot, then you don't need to specialize in that. But just having this mixture of knowing machine learning well and then being able to deploy makes you really independent and valuable to the company.
I like this question. So I agree with what Alexei said. The other thing I was thinking about is you need to align your passions with value. So if I only did what I was passionate about, maybe I would. I worked on a project last year where I was teaching a reinforced learning model to play my Xbox, and I had to play with some hardware and figure it out. And that for me was unbelievably satisfying. And I'd probably just do that for the next 10 years. But where's the value with that to an organization or a business? And so you need to find where your passions align with value for a company. It's really important to find a passion because that's where you get really, really good. And so questions that we often get asked, how do you guys stay up to date? I would argue if I went and asked Alexei and Tom, we're super passionate about the space. Like you don't have to ask us to go review some new feed or something that's happening in the industry. We just do it because it's interesting. We have a curiosity for it. So yeah, try to align your passions where the value is. Definitely agree with what Alexi said. With you really want to get things to deployment. A lot of data scientists struggle where the things they work on don't outlive them. They work in an organization, they leave, everything they did spins out of control and dies because it never actually got to done, never got into production, it never left their hands. Which can be okay for like a research group. Like I don't think it's ever okay if you're totally siloed and your knowledge dies with you. But yeah, I just want to hit on that passion alignment with value.
From what I heard, you just said like specialize in being curious, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So on to the next one. What constitutes a typical day of work or life for a full stack data scientist?
It depends on the employer because a young startup, probably hair on fire. You've got some deliverable, customer needs something outside of scope, and you're just going to do it as fast as possible within a week time frame or something. A bigger company, there's going to be more planning, more meetings, project managers, stakeholders. You kind of have to pitch your idea and get buy-in first, and then execute on it, and you're held accountable a quarter later. And you'll have much bigger teams. So a day in the life, I don't know. I think my schedule is very different than it's ever been. So I'd be curious what a day in the life is like for Alexi and Tom right now.
well, like to answer the original question, like I think it's not everyone in the industry agreed on what data scientists mean, let alone the full stack part, right? And then that kind of makes it very difficult to answer. Just it's different in every organization. And then, of course, like full stack usually is not official. Like you don't usually see open positions that look for full stack data scientists. Usually they look for a data scientist and they imply full stack, somebody who just going to come to join the organization and magically do everything. This is what they usually want. And yeah, so like if it's a person who is doing everything, then the usual day is pretty chaotic, I think. Like one day it's a lot of meetings, talking to stakeholders. The other day is going really deep in code, then maybe debugging something. And then the next day could be like figuring out why Kubernetes doesn't work or why, like, how can I deploy this thing? And like for me personally, like I'm at that level, then most of my day is meetings. So this is, I don't know if I can call myself a full stack data scientist anymore. Like being a lead data scientist changes that a bit. But I think, yeah, so like it's a bunch of things and every day is different. And this is what makes the job interesting.
I really like their answers. I would only add that if you were a lean startup, I was trying to imagine, and you were called upon to be a full stack data scientist to develop an initial end-to-end tracer bullet type SaaS, I would think you would just be operating to the plan you came up with. You would have to come up with a plan. You'd have to have priority items that you were ticking off until you could show that, okay, here's something ugly. It's not final polish, but we've just proved the concept's going to work. And it's like Ben was saying earlier, it's just so important to get to something that you can show will work, and hopefully that will actually be put into production. But that's just in the lean startup sense. I think they answered the small company and the big company scenarios pretty well.
This isn't really a question, but it's just a thought. There's something a little sad that happens later on in your career when you get sucked into a lot of meetings and you start leading a team. I'm sure Alexi and Tom might miss the days when they put on the music and they hack away for 10 hours with zero distractions, really deep in code. And in the moment, they're a rock star and they're a full stack data scientist, however we're defining it. But yeah, when you have meetings and meetings and meetings all week, it's kind of hard to sharpen that saw.
Yeah, I guess the role of elite is to let others be these rock stars, right? Put their music on and code like for 10 hours. And then it's our job to actually make possible for them to do that.
Yeah.
The most angry
yes.
the most angry my PhD advisor ever made me when he told me, Tom, you've had fun doing this research, right? Yeah. He said, you will never get to focus this much again ever in your life. And I just wanted him to be wrong so badly. And he was so right. It really made me mad. So what Ben says is so true.
Awesome. So on to the next one. How do you assess and set the requirements for a full stack data scientist?
I'll go first here. The reason I'm wanting to go first here is I remember going for a position that I thought I really wanted, and they didn't want to hire me because I didn't have any SaaS experience. And I thought, wow, should I pay attention to that? So I started learning SaaS, and I loved it. And it's like Ben said earlier, I like to look at my skill set as a competency matrix. There's a lot of things I know enough to just get going on. There's a lot of stuff not a lot, but there's some stuff I know well enough to teach a university level class on. But at the same time, it's really about a competency matrix. But how do you measure that? I am hoping soon we'll move away from looking at degrees and looking at portfolios. And if someone can present a SaaS that they developed that's a framework, what's really extra special about that is that person coming in, if you're asking them to do full stack level work, they have a code base to leverage from. And that's huge. That's a personal asset that is extremely valuable.
Yeah, indeed. So like to me, like the best way to assess like a data scientist, not just data scientists, maybe everyone in IT, like engineers, data engineers, software engineers, is to look at portfolio, not at university degree, not at these things, but open their GitHub page and have a look. Of course, not everyone has that, but if a person has that, it makes it a lot easier to actually understand what this person can do. And then the interview processes, they are quite noisy, so it's so the interview processes, they are quite noisy, and it's very difficult to actually to properly assess. And then like companies come up with different things. Yeah, so probably the best way is to ask a person to do a thing end to end, like not like actually sit down and do, but like talk through the thing, like assess business acumen and these things, and then actually have a look at the code, like can this person just talk or can they also code? Just talking is also fine, and we actually need a lot of people who can talk and translate the requirements from the language of the user to the language of IT, of developers. Yeah, sorry, I lost my thought. I got a bit distracted, but yeah, I think I finished my thought.
I think that's great, Alexi. The other thought I was having was how an interview works. So I've been on both sides. I've been on the side trying to get a data science job, and then I've been on the side interviewing, and I've worked on interviewing software with companies that hire. And an interview it's unfortunate because it's what we have. We don't have days to spend down and assess someone's ability. That would never scale. And so what you're looking at is, depending on the excitement or the hype of the company, you might have 100 applicants or even 1,000 applicants for one rec. And most people don't know how to write a good resume. So I'm saying this to smart people. Smart people don't know how to write a good resume. And so, and there's a lot of luck to it. So you get filtered down, and maybe eventually you'll get into the type of technical assessment. But there's an important thing that's coming through this. If you're a junior data scientist, I will actually assume things about you. I will assume that you are not as competent as anyone on my team. People on my team that have worked longer, they understand the stack better. And so I'm actually giving you kind of this unfair assessment. Even if you do well on the coding assessment, I'm going to assume you don't know MXNet or whatever we're working on as well as my teammates. And so something I've encouraged people to do is if you can get more involved with open source projects, like if you could come, I've never seen an applicant do this, but if you could say you were an sklearn contributor or an MXNet contributor, that actually changes my assumption of you. I now feel you've turned the table upside down where I might think you know more about MXNet than anyone on my team because you knew it well enough to add value into that system. So yeah, portfolios are really strong. That's a really strong way for you to show passion and get attention. The best thing you can do is build up a personal brand in your community well enough that you get recommended. So if people get recommended, you actually go to final selection. You don't have to go through the 1,000 or the 100 to 1 or 100 to 5. You actually go straight to the 5. Doesn't mean you're going to get the job. But if someone recommends you, if someone says, oh, you should take a look at this person, you're actually going to get a face-to-face. You can get some technical assessment, and the luck component goes away. So try to control your own luck and get out there that way.
I just want to add that contributing to open source is extremely difficult, and I really admire people who manage to do that. I remember trying to contribute to some of the Apache projects, and it's super complex. Like they have processes, they won't just accept a patch just because I did the work. It doesn't mean they will accept it. So this is a really difficult thing to do, and people who manage to do this, they really can stand out.
Yeah, it's very, very rare. I've never seen it, but I've talked to other data science managers. I don't want to belittle how difficult it would be. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, but if you could get through the process, you would definitely stand out to a lot of hiring managers. This is a fictitious resume. This resume doesn't exist, but pretend like my resume was essentially, here's my git commit to sklearn, NumPy, MXNet, and like how to contact me. Like if a hiring manager got that, they'd think, what the hell is this? Who is this person? Looks very uncommon because everyone's resumes look the same. Everyone has, I'm an expert in Python, R, MXNet, TensorFlow, PyTorch. Like they put all the keywords in there. There's no way to know. Like that's the thing that surprised me so much on the hiring side. All the resumes look the same. So if you feel very good about your resume, I can promise you there's 20 other resumes that look exactly the same as yours. And so having passion projects stand out on your resume is a great way to not just be lost in the noise. Everyone's so proud of their resume until they find out that their resume is actually pretty common in the pool.
Well, that was really insightful about having the projects, actually having your project stand out for you and speak out for you and controlling your own luck. So on to the next one. How much business or production deployment knowledge do full stack data scientists need to have?
I guess I'll go. I think it comes full circle to what the three of us just said. You really just want to have, in this case, to really stand out, a good GitHub repo or something that shows that this is, if you're trying to show you have full stack ability, go on ahead and show an end-to-end framework that's decent, that covers all the functionality that would be necessary to show that you have a base framework that you know how to work from and refer to, because there's so many moving parts that have to interact with a full stack app. And so if you've shown that you have a code base that does that and people can run it successfully, that shows that you have this knowledge. But how much do they need to have? If you're just trying to land a role, if it doesn't say you need to be a full stack person, they're probably not looking for a full stack person. So it's really relevant to what they're asking for. But if you need to prove that you have this level of background, taking the time to develop that framework that you have a referenceable code base for is huge.
It's also becoming easier every year. Like I laugh. If we went back in time 10 years, how hard was it to do everything? It was impossible. Or now you have like Docker, Docker Compose, Kubernetes, throw an API on something. You've got serverless, you got Lambdas. There's all these technologies now where I think a lot of people get credit for, having a Docker container, like showing this is my Docker container and these are the different elements and this is my API. That definitely feels much closer. If you showed that to DevOps or engineering, they would nod their head and say, I can take it from here. Where before I felt like, man, what did we do before Docker? Bad memories I've forgotten.
Yeah, I still remember like patching some Java program to actually encode the model there. It was terrible. Yeah, but having to do these things, like make it easier to, okay, now we have Docker, we can just, move with that. It's much easier. Yeah, so I think looking back at the original question, like how much business production knowledge they need, I think it really depends. Like it's on a team. Like in many companies, data scientists work in cross-functional teams with other experts, with other people. And let's say if there is a machine learning engineer who you can work with in close collaboration, then maybe like you don't need to be really great in that aspect. But if there is no one to help with business, then it's on you to actually go and talk to all these stakeholders and figure out what they want. So it really depends. But I think regardless if there is a machine learning engineer in a team or not, having this production knowledge helps a lot. I think I said that a couple of times, but again, like the other people, like you shouldn't, like if possible, you shouldn't depend on them because they all have other priorities, other things to do, and it's not a good situation to be stuck in somebody and wait for somebody to unblock you. And if possible, try to pick this knowledge and just unblock yourself instead of waiting for somebody. Like, let's say, like if you just need to deploy something you don't know, ask a machine learning engineer to teach you, do it once with them, and then next time you don't need to ask them again. With business, it's maybe a bit easier, except you have to talk to people. It's also scary sometimes, but it's just practice and practice. And at the end, as I said, just to summarize, it depends, and you just need to figure out what the company actually wants. And there is no silver bullet. All the positions are different.
The business mention, I think I didn't really notice that in the original question. One of the things I want to add is I've changed my mindset where I actually just, rather than gaining business knowledge, I just want to give up and have the subject matter expert in the room the entire time. So rather than me pretending like I'm understanding the process better and better, I'd rather just give up, invite them to the first meeting, but also have them there along the way to gauge the value. Is this model working as you'd expect it? How would we measure the value from this model? What are the KPIs or other ways you might say success? And if the model has any storytelling or insight, I'm not qualified to decide if the model drivers are useful. I need that technician or whoever the human is in the room who's worked that process the longest. So I'm a huge fan of that. So how much business knowledge does someone need? Very, very little if they're willing to go partner with the right people.
Exactly. And then like you don't usually have a team full of full stack data scientists, right? That's why you actually have product manager, you have all these data engineers, data analysts, because again, you cannot have a team of experts. Because like you said, you don't want to have these business conversations. You rather have somebody else do this, and that's why we have product managers, right? So a CEO of a company, of a startup, cannot have all these conversations. So that's why we have other people doing that. And yeah, that's I think that's why like a full stack data scientist is still like not clear to everyone. Like, and I don't think such a role actually officially exists. So usually it's just a data scientist who can do everything, and then eventually somebody is there to help, like a product manager, a data engineer, etc.
I just want to tack on, Ben, I did the same thing. I overlooked the business part. And I was laughing because I am just like you. Even though I think I have great business acumen, I can be in the room with someone who totally disagrees with what I think is the most important business point, but they're in charge. And quite frankly, my job is to assess their concerns and find the best way to make data science meet those needs. And quite frankly, I mean this nicely. I've grown a little tired of the emphasis on having great business acumen as a data scientist. I think Ben hit the nail on the head.
We should just remove it. Let's just remove it as a competency. It'll be the two double ring.
Yeah, but the new competency, as our big brother John Thompson would tell us, is to partner with these business leaders, find out where they feel like they're hemorrhaging, and guide them carefully into relying on the truth, as Scott Taylor would say, the truth that data brings us. And, they do not think we're earthlings most of the time, and we need to learn to speak their language, but we need to take it in smaller steps. I made the huge mistake many times of working in silence for a long time, only to deliver something that they couldn't understand, and realizing, oh, I should have delivered this in small, bite-sized, understandable steps and gotten more frequent feedback. And Ben's statement can't be underemphasized. Get joined at the hip as soon as possible with those people. Serve what's scaring them, and you'll probably do a lot better.
I've had plenty of awkward conversations. I remember sending some analysis to a CEO, and he responded and said, "What the hell am I looking at?" And that was like me learning how to communicate. And then on same CEO on another meeting we had a group of people around this table, and he interrupted me while I was speaking. And he said, "Ben, we know you're smart. That's why we hired you. You don't have to keep reminding us." And both of those examples are failures of communication, just total, complete failures. And so that should be that ring, Tom, that we replace. It should just be communication and storytelling, not a failed attempt to be a domain expert.
Yeah, just want to add something to that before we move to the next question. I don't think we should actually remove this ring completely, even though it's tempting, like to just throw it all at somebody else and let them figure out. But then at the end, like they don't necessarily always know the important parts of machine learning, right? So they don't necessarily can translate things from language of business to the language of machine learning. And this is when we need to help them. We need to partner with product people, with customer service, whoever, and translate their requirements to something that we can do, and then also manage expectations, right? So this is not always something, of course, like if you hire a product manager who knows a bit of machine learning and who can know how to manage these expectations is great, but such people are rare. And then often it's up to a data scientist to fill this gap, and then actually said, you know what, but it's not possible to do with machine learning. Like, even though, yes, you just saw this old GPT-3 tweets all over the internet, but it's not possible to do it. It's not realistic, right? And then we need somebody who can do that. And to me, this drink of business, this is where it comes in. Yeah, and just one last thought, sorry. Like, the question was like how to get better, I think. Well, maybe not, but like one way to get better in business is be friends with product managers. Like, just talk to them more than, not more, but enough. Usually, like, we as data scientists, at least me, I like to talk more to engineers, to other data scientists, and then forget about business. But learn from product managers. They have a lot of knowledge about business, and then make friends with them, and you'll learn a lot of business.
You know,
Great.
Alexi, if I understood you correctly, sorry, Harrison, I'm just going to add this briefly. It's a spirit of showing our business counterparts that we're listening to what they're concerned about. We're showing them, not in a show-off way, but just in a very simple way, how data in general can answer their needs. And after you've done that a few times, you build a path of trust. And then they want to know your thoughts, what you can bring to the table. And I think if I heard Alexi right, that's kind of what I heard him saying. Yeah, listen to them, but eventually hope that they'll want to listen to you because you've done such a good job listening to them. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Okay, it has been really inspiring to share your thoughts on the same. And briefly, could you share on who should interview candidates for full stack data science position to assess their competence in the various dimensions the role demands?
Other full stack data scientists, I guess. Like the company knows what well, not necessarily like I wish they all knew, but usually there is some understanding of what you want to see in the candidates, and then you just test that. And when it comes to who, at least at OLX, I think in the other corporations also the process is similar. Like there is a process who should do the interview, like let's say first the recruiter, then the hiring manager, then the data scientist, and the product manager. And each of these interviews assess a different skill, a different dimension. And I don't think it should change for full stack data scientists or for data scientists, or I don't know, for software engineers. Like still, like there is no, I think, like for even if for a software engineer, there still should be interview with a product manager or somebody like from the business side, or an analyst who can also see. Like I heard, I think Ben was saying that he hates the word business acumen, but like just to test it still, like because we don't work in silos, we don't work in isolations. We still need to communicate. We still need to make sure that we're solving a problem, not just creating the code for the sake of it. And yeah, so I think different people should interview a candidate.
I'd love to throw all the companies under the bus on this question too that have no idea what they're hiring.
Yes.
So like you look at the job requirements and we will all agree that person does not exist. Like if I want to exaggerate it, I might say 20 years of deep learning experience or something stupid that isn't around. And so a lot of companies post recs that they don't know how to interview the individual. When I was interviewed at HireVue, they put me through a software. I was hired as their first data scientist, but they interviewed me as a software developer because they didn't have an interview. So really, it was the CTO's kind of hunch on what was needed. A bigger company can go through some type of official data science interview to kind of gauge the different highlights. But I guess I'd say most companies hiring their first data scientists, they don't know how to interview them. They don't know how to assess them. And a lot of times they'll rely on an outsider like an advisor or anyone else to tell them if they should hire this person.
That's probably a good idea to involve a consultant in that process, because if they don't, and if they test data scientists like a software engineer, they will hire a software engineer, not a data scientist, right?
Yeah, or just steal someone, just poach someone from another company. So if you see a senior data scientist at a company you like, just give them like a director of data science role. It's like if you worked at Google for a year, you're qualified to be a CTO, kind of a thing.
I just echoing what Ben and Alexi have said, and it is quite comical sometimes, but there's even companies now that specialize not only in placing data scientists in companies that have data science needs, but they also counsel those companies on how to interact with data scientists. So I found that a little bit comical, but relieving too, that companies like that are starting to pop up.
Yeah, really interesting to hear about that. And maybe would you share on the who or what does a full stack data scientist need to become successful in executing their duties? Both the who is the team and what is maybe the tools that they need.
They need to have a sense of urgency. So the idea of, hey, leave me alone for a month or a quarter, I'm going to do this really cool full stack application. That's not how a full stack data scientist is successful. They need to have a sense of urgency to get things done within a sprint. I think that's something I appreciate more than ever is someone's paying the bills, and you need to be successful. You need to appreciate that. You can't ignore that.
Great.
I really
Sorry.
appreciate, what Ben was saying. I was picturing Ben watching some person that he hired and is paying from his own pocket not getting that. And it really struck home to me empathetically toward Ben as he said that. And, if you find yourself landing in that full stack data scientist role, which is a bit rare even now, but it is possible that someone wanted that. I'll go back to this thing I was saying earlier. If you already have a framework that's pretty broad that you can leverage from, that's going to help you go faster in the sense of what Ben was saying. So if you think you want to land a role like this, be working in your evenings to develop that code base that you can leverage from. It's just a thought.
Yeah, what I can add to that, I just intentionally wanted to be last because I think I talk too much. What I wanted to add to that is think a good full stack data scientist should know how to prioritize things and know what to focus on and what not to focus on. So what they should become a sort of a project managers in a way, and then find these 20% that bring the 80% of results. Like just to know what to pick to deliver the highest value. And yeah, I think that's because if you're just starting a project, you want to close the loop as fast as possible. So do one iteration, another iteration, and make sure that you're really building the right thing. And if you spend a lot of time on doing these iterations, you'll move slowly, and then it will take too much resources. So you really want to learn how to prioritize. And then to me, this is like estimating, finding out what is important, what is not. And this is somehow related again to product manager, project manager things. And then, after understanding that, putting another hat and quickly hacking some things. I think to me, this is what a full stack data scientist is.
So to add on to what Alexei said, I'm smiling to myself over here because it's really important to prioritize different things, but there's something beautiful that happens with procrastination is looked down on as a fault, but when you have deadlines, things magically get done. And we actually had an internal discussion at Data Robot where we had a deadline. We were setting on a project where it wasn't done, and I was laughing and I said, "There's something magical that happens with a deadline. It gets done." It doesn't mean it got done great or the highest quality, but some of my favorite memories from higher review in the early days were these all-nighters. Not that I recommend them, but things get done. Got a deadline. It's got to be done tomorrow morning by 6 a.m. and it'll get done. And part of that doneness, it forces you to prioritize where you're spending your time because you can't fail on the deadline. And I'm sure there's very stressful moments, but things get done.
Yeah,
So
I think
have deadlines.
Yeah, to add to that, I think this is why hackathons work, because you in 3 days have to present something. Like even if it's an internal hackathon at the company, Like, you know, if you start now, then in 3 days, you'll have a demo time, right? When you have to present something. And then you magically, okay, now you understand, okay, this is not important, this is not important. I'll focus on that thing. And then it's the same thing, basically, having a deadline, knowing that by 3 p.m. this day, I need to present something.
Yeah.
That works a lot.
I just really quick, 30-second story. The CTO of HireView is flying to DC to show some product that didn't exist. And he asked, would it be possible for this product to exist in the morning when you get to DC? And I did the math in my head and I said, actually, at least a demonstration. Like, doesn't mean like you can ship it. Like a demonstration could be possible. So I spent the whole night eating, like, it's like I'm in college again. I made a huge mess of his office with junk food, Red Bulls, and then I passed out. And so he flies back. Thing worked, did exactly what they need to. He flies back. He sends out a scathing email to the whole engineering org. And he says, I allow you guys to use my office when I'm traveling, but whoever left this mess, this is disgusting. Like he would really lean into the engineering org. And when I said, actually, it was me, he felt really bad. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Because he knew what I had to do to like build this shitty product that didn't exist. But I just left his office looked like someone didn't care at all. I just left garbage all over his desk. It was funny. Anyway, funny story.
Awesome. So on to the next one. What pitfalls should aspiring full stack data scientists look out for when scaling up for the role? A quick one on that.
I think you can spend too much time on things that don't help you.
Yeah.
Like I think if I went really deep on React or something for the front end, is that really important for a full stack data scientist for like pixel twiddling? Maybe not. I really like what Alexi said on prioritizing. So if you're prioritizing what has to get done to show a minimum viable product, that might help waste time on things that don't move the needle there.
Great. On to the next one. Maybe these are a bit general. What should we expect for the next generation of data scientists? Maybe.
Be really. I even wrote a blog post on this because I was afraid for the people I mentor. Let's just be real with everyone here. Data science and the methodologies we use within it is growing faster than anyone can learn it all. Even if, it's just growing so fast. And it's impossible to keep up with all of it. So it's really important to keep a personal learning plan that make it living so that you can adjust it as time goes on. For example, people follow my Thursday posts, you can see that I'm just a student of reinforced learning. I just decided it was too big of a passion. I had to take the time a little bit each week to learn it. I felt it was going to become important to my role. And but I can't learn it at the speed I really want to because there's other things I realize, okay, I could get this done, but there's just like a reinforced learning agent, there's a little bit of exploration that needs to be ongoing. There may be, maybe I should go apply a transformer to this part in what I'm working on instead of just doing lookup engines and worst case alignments. And so it's a constant search for the best wisdom of what you choose to learn, what you choose to add to your competency matrix. And it takes, you're going to fail at it sometimes, but be okay, be gentle and patient with yourself and just keep advancing that learning plan and being honest with yourself about where is my competency level at this skill. But with regard to this, I think if you really focus on getting good at understanding concepts, and I mean really high level concepts, and then knowing when and where to go deep on something, you'll do much better than if you put yourself in a constant state of panic of, I don't know that new sexy thing. Well, it's, you know what, it's going to be really rare that new sexy thing is really needed in your job. But then again, it might be needed. So you just need to kind of calm down, stay chill, and keep learning and keep reviewing. Sometimes I need something that I haven't used in a long time, and I realize, oh, I got to go review that. I hope that helps.
Real quick, one of the things I like to say with this thought, I agree with everything that Tom said. I do like to say that the principal data scientist today is the free intern tomorrow. And this has been true in our own careers. So if we look back at things we did 10 years ago, oh my gosh, like impossible. But then if you have a new applicant, you'd expect them to do a Twitter clone for an interview, like for a free intern, or like we have equivalent things in data science that are just expected. Like you should be able to use AutoML, hyperparam tuning. That's expected. And so I think that's very exciting as a society that everything's getting easier. It's not that people are getting smarter. It's everything's just getting easier and easier and easier. We're moving faster and faster. So just make sure you're up to date. Kaggle, the nice thing with Kaggle is people use up to date, like XGBoost and some of these newer algorithms, they showed up on Kaggle first. And so Kaggle doesn't apply to all business use cases, but it's a great way for you to have your finger on the pulse in the community. What's working? What are the new frameworks? What are the open source tools that are getting traction? Yeah.
Okay, definitely, I do recommend Kaggle, well, regardless of like whether you want to be a full stack data scientist or not. Well, actually, maybe for a full stack data scientist, it's not super needed because you want to move fast. But if you really want to specialize in training models, then that's the best resource. And I wanted to add a bit, the way I see the future. I, of course, don't have a crystal ball, but the way I see it, I saw that 8 years ago, all the, like when it just appeared, every job position required a PhD. Like people wouldn't just consider. I remember trying to find the first job in data science. Like they said, okay, but everyone in our team has a PhD in mathematics. Can you imagine being there? Like, sorry, you also have to have this PhD. But not anymore. Now these days, like it changed. Now focus is more on engineering. But I think engineering also becomes easier with these no-code tools when you can just drag and drop things and then have a Twitter clone in no time just by mouse clicking. I think there's something there that will also happen to machine learning. Like you can, in a couple of years, I think I saw some of the startups doing that already. Like you can just design your entire data pipeline with just your mouse, and then maybe have something like data robot at the end that does AutoML. And then all you need to do is just to be able to translate the business requirements to somehow phrase them in the machine learning terms. Just to know how to actually to frame your problem in the right terms. And probably in next 10 years, it will be like that. So maybe like data product managers will be able to do all this job because they know like a bit of machine learning, they know how to frame the problem, they know how to measure the success, and they have the tools to do that. Yeah, maybe that will be the requirements for in the future. I hope so, certainly, because I think now with many people trying to enter data science, this engineering requirement makes it very difficult for them to enter. But if we have tools like that to simplify it and not require that will be fun.
So Lexi, I'm looking forward to a future where I can just tell the servers in my home what projects I want them to accomplish. So Tom, you don't need to worry about reinforced learning. You'll just wake up in the morning, drink your coffee, and you'll look at your mainframe and say, what did you do last night? This is what I want you to be working on tomorrow. And I'm going to go skiing. I'm going to go on a bike ride.
That's why we have GPT-3, right?
Yeah, GPT-10.
Yeah.
When GPT-10 comes,
GPT-10.
GPT-10, maybe. It's worth pointing out, there, and I know we were kind of joking a little bit, but there are tools like my other two panelists have been pointing out. They're going to make our work faster. They're going to make it easier, but it is never, at least I don't think in my lifetime, and I plan to live to 120, in our lifetime, I don't think we're going to see any machines replacing humans completely. With the GPT-3, when you look at what it does, it's the best parrot on the planet. It can do research and throw a summary together faster than any human being on the planet, but can it really check its own sources for validity? No, it just knows you threw a source at it and it used that. Well, was that valid? You know, it can produce a lot of code fast probably, but it probably still needs to be debugged a little. It might even need to be refactored. But the conceptual work, the abstractions, the movements to new things, and I think that's where, if I were a business and I was looking to hire someone that at least had full stack knowledge, I would really want to focus on, do you love to think conceptually? Do you like to, I don't necessarily need you to push the envelope all the time, but could you push it a little? I think that's the kind of thinking we need as all of these things get easier. But again, I'm kind of thinking off the cuff there and thinking out loud. I thought GPT-3 was a bit of a wake-up call to ask myself, what does this mean? And it's I like the way Ben and Alexi put it, means that, hey, our work will get easier, but it's still going to require human thought to advance things.
Yeah, really great and awesome to come to our last question for today. And briefly, what practices should businesses adopt or implement to make full stack data science trends work in their favor? Although
They need to be careful about red tape, and they need to allow these full stack data scientists to work in brief silos. So like, you know, if they can go work on an important thing for a sprint, allow them to do that. Don't burden them with protocols and red tape and processes that restrict them from being flexible.
really awesome. And there are some few questions from the audience, from the attendees, and one of them, which I feel should be tackled at this point in time, is what is a good way to know how mature an organization is in terms of their data science skills while interviewing?
Well, I guess like the one possible way to evaluate if a company is mature is to look at who is interviewing you. Then if you see that this person is not a data engineer, not a data scientist, but a CEO, and doesn't have the relevant background, then yeah, maybe the company is not ready, or how to say not ready, but not mature enough. And then of course you can just ask questions. Hey, like, what about your data pipeline? Like, what about your data quality? And then see the reaction. Like when you mention data quality, how do they react on that? Like if they're scared, maybe they are on the right track. If not, then it's not yet mature. Yeah, but I guess like what I'm trying to say is, yeah, just look at the people and look and think about some questions that you want to ask, like about the infrastructure, about experiments they're doing. Like, are there any experiments at all or not? Like how many models they already have? Let's say if we talk about data science and things like that. Like how long ago they ran the first machine learning model, or how long does it take to create a new project in machine learning and launch it to the users, things like that.
And if you're coming in ahead of that, where maybe you're the first data science hire, then my recommendation is see how friendly the executive team is to data science initiatives. If they seem casually curious or a little standoffish, then that's a little scary. But if it sounds like they see it as a major strategic win for the company, where there's appetite to to go for it, that's more exciting. But I agree with everything Alexi said. I just wanted to plug in. Sometimes you have an opportunity where you're the first, and this is a big opportunity. Definitely have a temperature check on the executive's appetite.
Totally agree. Nothing to add. Very well said, guys.
Well, and maybe I know this is we are taking a lot more time than we expected, but I would feel that we should address this last question, that what are some tips on building a strong GitHub repo, maybe?
Somebody want to start? Because if I start talking,
I'll take it. Because of my blog and the nature of my blog, I was using Git in industry before I started using GitHub, and so it was easy. But I think Git is a little mesmerizing to some people when they first start it. I would just recommend start using it as much as you can, because obviously having a GitHub repo means you're using Git. But I think Git's underutilized by a lot of people. Myself is the strongest evidence, frankly. But excuse me, what helped me was to start using Git, start using it in simple ways. And then I can't remember the commands. I always keep a categorized cheat sheet off to the side, helps a lot. But quite frankly, when I'm using it by myself, I can get by with 3 commands all the time. And it really does simplify your work and taking care of it. But then I would say the most important thing, just get started with it and then learn to write really good, even flashy, shiny README files. That helps. And then what I like to do is have a blog post that backs up what I've done in the repo. I highly recommend all that, but don't think you have to do it all at once. I think the important thing is just get started. Learn to write good code, clean code. Mark Hammond, watch all of his videos if you can. Great resource for clean Python coding. Comment your code well. Write really good README files, like I said, and just be patient with yourself. Get going, improve it a little bit over time.
I agree with what Tom said. I was going to say on the README file, you really want to encourage people to take your code for a test run. So just having like the idiot proof 1, 2, 3, copy, git clone, do this, expect this, and even putting that in an animated GIF and having it on your README, so people are essentially watching the process of what they're to expect. Their appetite to kick the tires is higher. We had a free intern. They did a project that was retweeted by Francois, the creative Karas, because they had a great README. It was engaging. It was exciting what they were working on. It's all about the README. The code has to work too. People be pissed if the code doesn't work.
Yeah. So what I also like, README and blog post. These are definitely cool things, and they are like for a good, strong GitHub project. I think these are really important. But also often what I miss when I look, let's say, at portfolios or of applicants for people who want to apply for a job, they usually more and more people start to have the projects section, and this is great. But often they don't explain why they're building something. So I used this piece of technology for that, but why? And then think it's a good idea to cover this why in a blog post, like Tom suggested. Like when you write a blog post, don't just write, I used this piece of technology, and this is the result, but also mention why you're doing this. Like what motivated you to actually do this? Like what drove you? Like, and I think this really, it's a really great way to stand out, especially like if you're looking for a job and have like, okay, I built this project because, let's say I was looking for a flat and it was difficult for me. That's why I went there, scraped this website, put it out there, just give a motivation. And I think this will really help to make a project strong.
It shows passion. Means you're not a robot. You have
Yeah.
a reason for doing things.
You know,
Thank
it's
you.
getting. Oh, sorry. Going ahead.
No, you could just share. We are just coming to the end of the session, and I feel that you could have a go at it, and then we can wind up. Sorry. So thank you everyone for attending the session. Thank you so much, our speakers, Ben, Tom, and Alexi, and to the attendees who really created the time to sit down and watch through the whole session. Since we started, we have really gained a lot of insight along the way and seen that this thing about the full stack data scientist, it's really not as we had expected it to be. It's not a real role in an organization, really. And maybe they have expounded on having, it's just like having a data science, the usual data science role, and being able to partner with others, the product managers and machine learning engineers and software developers, and really doing work that really creates value for the business. And at this point in time, I would invite the speakers to say something, maybe their last comment on the session, and we can say goodbye.
I'll go first, I guess. This last thing we were talking about, it is getting competitive out there. And if you want to differentiate yourself, this question on the GitHub repo and blog posts that support it, that can be a real differentiator for you. And Harrison and Kennedy, it was an honor to be here today and to speak with the two other panelists.
Yeah, I enjoyed speaking with the other panelists. Love the topic. You can find all of us on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us if you want to follow our content. I think we're all pretty active, like nearly daily on LinkedIn. Yeah, happy to be a resource for the community.
Yep. Thanks a lot for the organizers, Kennedy and Harrison. Yeah, thanks for inviting us to speak here. And it's first time I met Ben and Tom. So thanks a lot for putting us together. And yeah, it's a great session. I really like being here. And I also wanted to say that like maybe during today's session, we talked a lot about like this full stack data scientist, that it's jack of all trades, that they should be able to do everything. And I just wanted to finish with saying that you don't have to be an expert in everything. We said that at the beginning, but maybe just to emphasize that nobody expects you to be great in all the aspects. Just yeah, do a bit of everything. Like if you want to be a full stack data scientist, and yeah, and be friends with others. Like find other people and get like involve them and work together. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for the insights you have shared on this topic, and we really loved it, what you shared on that. And at this point in time, I would like to remind the attendees that keep watching out for your emails. You'll receive an notification from deeplearning.ai and the Pi and AI team regarding this event. Kindly fill out the feedback form, and after you fill it, keep out checking to receive the promo codes for any of the deeplearning.ai courses on Coursera. Thank you so much, and do have yourselves a good day or good evening, depending on what part of the world you are joining us from.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.